GreensideDawah.com/donate.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay. طيب الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Inshallah, with me here I have the infamous Shaykh Yasir Sa'ullah, the amazing duo. Okay. There's a very important portion in this whole in this presentation or workshop that we won't be able to get to because it's just lengthy, and I think it really deserves a night. And what I was thinking, inshallah, is we'll announce this. Not this coming Friday. I don't know how many of you know about our Friday night program. We have a Friday night family program. We call it FF. Is it? Yeah, we call it Friday Family Night. Yeah. FFN, that's what we call it. So if you ever see that in any of the emails, that's what it means. Friday Family Program. Friday Night Family Program. And basically, not next Friday we have a program scheduled. The following Friday, we'll do a follow-up session because there's a very important portion that we won't be able to get to. It's really marriage, but the fiqhi aspect of marriage is kind of dry, but people need to know their rights and their obligations. And they need to pay attention to their obligations more than their rights, because I keep repeating this. On the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to ask you about your rights, but rather the questioning will be about your duties and your obligations, whether you have fulfilled them or not. So many times people focus, last thing we want to happen is people go home tonight and say, the sisters say to the brothers, to their husbands, you see what the Sheikh said? Please, pay attention, all of that was for you. And then the brother said, you heard what he said about the microwave thing? You always do it, although we don't have a microwave. So we need to really remember, we're not here to give each side the ammunition that they need to attack and bash and bomb the other side. We're really here to help men. I tell you, and Sheikh Yasir and I always share these things. Here in the American society, 90% of college graduates and others get married. 50% of them end up getting divorced. Right? Now, we always brag in Muslim communities, we have the lowest divorce rates. We have the lowest domestic violence issues. Guess what? There are many factors involved in that. The truth of the matter is that we actually don't have lower divorce rates. We don't really know. We don't have statistics in the studies. That's number one. Number two, even the statistics and the studies within the Muslim community now are showing very alarming divorce rates. 32 to 35%, according to some studies. 35%. And this was a study that was done, that was concluded 5 years ago. Maybe by now it is somewhere around 40%. That means 4 out of every 10 marriages end up in divorce. And they end up in divorce courts, and it just gets ugly. And I tell you, the imams, being an imam for about 10 years, Sheikh Yasir, Sheikh Abdullah, in addition to being imam, they're professional counselors. They have the Waaz Living, amazing actually program, which I advise the community really to push forward. We need more of those kind of empowerment, motivational type of sessions that will help us, inshallah, communicate better and relate to each other in a better fashion. So the part that is concentrated on the fiqhi aspect, rights and obligations according to the different schools of thought, inshallah we'll do a follow-up session on that because it's important for people to know that. Because sometimes lack of knowledge when it comes to those issues cause a lot of problems. People don't know. Islamically, what are their rights and what are their obligations? Some of the brothers may go like, oh, what? It is not her obligation Islamically to cook for me and to clean the house. According to the majority of opinions and to the strongest of all opinions, she's actually volunteering and she is donating her time and her effort. It's part of her good moral obligation to make it to Jannah. But it is not really a duty. And this could be surprising. Likewise, there are many sisters who don't know the rights that the husband has. So this is very critical. Again, please focus on your obligations and your duties. Because if you're really serious about pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fulfilling the purpose for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you in this life, which is to please Allah, you would focus on your obligations and duties. Again, Allah will ask you about them on the day of judgment, not necessarily about your rights. In fact, you may be rewarded for giving up or not really demanding some of your rights. Just keep that thought in mind. Alright. Having said that, inshallah, we have many areas to cover and many issues to really discuss with our guest speakers. I had the privilege, actually one of us, Sheikh Yasser and I went to school together, so just, and we were roommates, and I remember when he was much slimmer and he was a fine young man. I don't know what happened. Yeah, well, handsome, but I remember Sheikh Yasser, we had some fun together. But what happened is, he came to his home state, California. I was on the East Coast, so we were apart for a while. And then I came, and one day we were both invited to a conference where we both spoke there. But I attended one of his sessions, and it was titled, if I remember correctly, Sheikh Yasser, correct me if I'm wrong, it was titled Prophetic Guidance in Conflict Resolution, something like that. Prophetic Steps, Conflict Resolution.
Was it good?
It was one of the best I've ever heard. It's amazing how he tied the hadith to those communication and conflict resolution, I don't want to call them techniques, but methods. It really has to, techniques don't really work. A lot of people, a lot of sisters, a lot of brothers look for techniques to please one another and to really get over the problem. Techniques don't work. Sheikh Abdullah said something that is very, a key word. Remember this, connection, finding the connection. We know our rights, we know our obligations in most cases, but we don't create a connection between that and our behavior. So in that, Sheikh Yasser, if I may have your attention, his wife is like giving him a love. He always does that, doesn't he? You can just like he hears you and then just, okay, what did he say? Alright, Sheikh Yasser, if I may have inshallah, your input on this. Sheikh Abdullah mentioned amongst the 6 C's, and I had a question. He mentioned communication and consideration. Now, one of those complaints that I hear a lot from brothers is, and if you remember, men from Mars, women from Venus. Dr. Gray talks about the man's cave. You know what I'm talking about? So the brothers sometimes come home and they need to be left alone. So how do you balance communication obligations with consideration? Because sometimes in order to really communicate, you have to have what? Consideration. You have to consider the right moment, the right time to really bring up something. And so if you could just elaborate on that. Yes, yes, since you were the first speaker.
Communication, put very simply, is the process of exchanging information between two people. And sometimes we, like Sheikh Salwa said, we tend to talk a lot, but we do not say much. As far as communication is concerned, there are 3 points to keep in mind. Point number 1, the person is more important than the point. The person is more important than the point. There is a tendency that we will have to make the point regardless of what it does to the person. What good is a point if you lost the person? But she was not getting the point, and they insist that at any expense, the point must be gotten across to the other person, even if it means that the person is lost. Save the person, make the point later on. But what we want to do is, no matter what it does to the person, make the point at any expense. And that is not acceptable. Number two, many times, being kind is more important than being right. There is this tendency of making sure that it's got to be right, it's got to be done this way, again, regardless of whether it's kind or it is not kind. So keep this in mind. Sometimes you know, maybe it's not this or it's not that, but at this point, being kind is more important than being right. And finally, the point that Sheikh Saadullah made, and that is, say what you mean and mean what you say. Otherwise, so much is exchanged, but nothing is really said. They say that there are 8 levels of communication. 8 levels of communication. Most families, they go to sleep after they have been to the 2nd level of communication only. Give an example. So that the first level of communication is cliché talk, where the person who's talking doesn't really mean it, the person who is responding back doesn't really mean it, but it's just cliché. This is the stuff that you do when you pick up your son or your daughter from school. Hey, how was the school? Good. What did you do? Nothing. Alhamdulillah. And nobody's even paying attention to what is being said. Hey, how's it going? And you just walk by them. You really don't care for how they're going. But it's the cliché talk. It's the cliché talk. It's what people do. And then the second level is people exchanging immediate information, immediate factual. Did you pay the bill? Did you send the letter? Did you make that phone call? Did you fill out the application? And they said most people go to sleep after that. Even though there are 8 different depths to communication, people go to sleep at that point. And that is it. There was no exchange of ideas. There was no exchange of opinions. There was no exchange of feelings. There was no understanding for the person's ideas or feelings or the opinions. You didn't get a chance to sympathize with them, empathize with them. None of this stuff went on, yet people go to sleep. Remember that in New York, in the East Coast, when people lost their electricity for about 5 days, of the comments that were made, well, there was a couple who had been married for 25 years. They had no electricity. And they lived, let's say, in the 25th floor, so going up and down was almost unknown. So they were there in the dark, no internet, no TV, no radio, no book to be read or anything like that. And you know what they said? They said, we have done more talking in the past 3 days than we have done in our entire marriage of 25 years. Because these distractions were not there. And if you counted how much real talk do we do when we are together, it becomes a bit problematic. So, you know, these are just some of the issues that we need to pay attention to. You know, Sheikh, can you put this on, please? The thingy? This thingy here?
Screen on.
Screen on.
I'm sorry, screen.
You can tell Sheikh Yassin hangs out with a lot of high schoolers. Okay, in the meanwhile, while we get that up, inshallah, running, we can always present this. Inshallah, because we want to engage the audience, inshallah, we're going to take, a question from each side. And since the sisters happen to be on my right side, inshallah, we're going to start from that side. So we're going to take questions, and please limit your question or your comment to 30 seconds. Or 10 words or less, 2 words less. Okay? Yes.
First, I would
Yes.
like to thank Sheikh Saadullah for this very efficient lesson that he taught about marriage. This is maybe the first time that I hear this good lesson about the subject. I think
You got 10 seconds left.
Okay. Now, thank you for Sheikh Sabullah, but about Sheikh Yasser, there is something I'd like to comment on. You, when something went wrong with your computer, you said, I forgot that I am in Umar al-Faruq. What does this mean? And is this the reason that you came late half an hour?
Don't ever mess with Umar al-Faruq. Okay, one big lesson to learn. Never mess with Umar al-Faruq. We have some loyal veterans here. They're going to tear you apart. You see, the thing is, okay, I've been in Imam al-Masjid by the name Abu Bakr Siddiq, and everybody was mild there, and they were like, laid back. And then I come to Umar al-Faruq, and everybody's like, I'm like, okay, so the name has a lot to do with it. So you read Umar al-Faruq. See? You got it?
I'm trying to say it.
I think the question you asked, you mentioned earlier on about communication and consideration, that the brother comes home from work and then of course he wants some chill time. I think it's also important to realize that sometimes the wife works too, and she comes home as well, and then you expect them to be ready, for example. So sometimes, here the consideration is not only that of duties that nobody should be ready, it's how we understand that though sometimes, of course when I come home I like the food to be ready, but there are, like for example, my wife doesn't really work, she doesn't be working as such, At the moment in time, she has relatives from South Africa who are here. So normally she would prepare food. If I'm at home, I would prepare food sometimes, but then she comes back, and then I find that, she didn't prepare the food, she didn't come back yet. Sometimes we become so accustomed to having everything the way we feel it's supposed to be, that we feel it's been owed to us. So that's part of the problem. Part of the consideration is, yes, that she must realize, or whoever's working needs some chill time and just be left alone and so on. But sometimes people feel they're left alone completely. Don't tell me about the kids' homework. I don't have to go to the concert. I don't have to go to the game. You drop them. This is not my job. So I think, again, the point of communication is very, very important. From the outset, there must be an understanding of shared responsibility, of shared ownership of what we need to do, of how we can selflessly do something that may make it easier for the other one. Rather than you do your task, I do my task, I do nothing at home, you do everything at home. I think, the idea of sharing and caring is equally important. The idea of sharing responsibility is also important.
Yeah, I want to turn this, instead of it being like Dr. Phil's style, maybe do it Oprah style. So I'm going to go back to that point, What I was saying actually is, okay, if I want to really be understood, and if I really want to get my point across, shouldn't I wait for the other persons to be ready? Sometimes, brothers come home and assume that the wife had nothing to do, so she's ready for him just to bombard her with all of his, what he did, and what kind of, difficulties he had in his day. Maybe she had a frustrating day with the kids, so they assume that. Sometimes the sisters assume that, okay, now he's home, now I get to tell him about everything that happened, and the kids did, although he might need maybe some time to catch his breath, or maybe make up all the salah that he didn't make, you know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, where does consideration come in here?
Why don't we talk to each other? When I come home, I need to pick a wash in the bath, I want to watch the news maybe. After dinner we can talk about things. We can agree on that kind of thing. And then, if something is urgent, it's urgent. Urgency is not, urgency and emergency. There's no time span. Any time is important. Important. Child was hurt, you need to pay something happened, there's something else. But generally, just speak about it. So, when I come home, I'm just a bit tired, the traffic and so on. Any discussion, like I have a rule with my wife. I don't speak anything about finances for an hour before I sleep. I don't bring up any time during the day, but before we sleep, I don't speak about anything about finances. This is one rule I have. So she knows that. I won't be against it. She brings it up, but she tries not to bring up. Tomorrow morning to pay something. She makes it out of it. So we know that, and certain things she doesn't like. I think that. So we have an agreement about it. But it's the emergency you speak about.
Brothers, someone, brother side. Sheikh,
One brother asked a question, by the way, in the Salat, could I answer?
yeah, please.
The question was that I think Sheikh Yasir mentioned, or even something that I may have said, about intercultural marriages. Now, don't get me wrong. If you can find someone from the same culture, the same age, the same village, the same educational background, there's nothing wrong with that. My point is, some people assume because you have that, you have everything. Listen, when you find someone that meets all those requirements, it means that you stand on the same footing or the same level, the same place at that time. There's no guarantee that you'll be able to walk together through the journey of life. That's a different thing. So be very cautious about this. If you can find someone, I've been asking your parents, say, okay, I've got a nice girl for you, or a nice boy for you, and you find the person is nice and you're happy with that, there's nothing wrong with that. So one brother was implying, or he thought that I implied that, culture isn't important at all. No, if you find someone, it's no harm. But it shouldn't become a barrier. I know many people who do not marry because the person doesn't have the cultural background. They say, for example, they need both an Arab background, and say, we don't marry Palestinians, or we don't marry Lebanese, or we don't marry Egyptians. You find that kind of thing. Or, even within the culture, we don't want someone who's dark complexion. I don't want my kids to be dark. And speaking to me, and I'm dark myself. So people tell me that. So you can like light skin, blonde hair, blue eye, pink, whatever you want. That's your choice. But don't be based on race. Don't be based on color. This is very important to understand. So sometimes
Isn't that funny how sometimes we get people come and like, oh, my daughter's gonna marry someone dark, and all the three brothers that are talking. Like, God, you're so blind or something? Okay, anyways, you have it ready, Sheikh? That's it?
This is just, it's a cutie thingy. Because Sheikh he keeps saying thank you. So I've decided to save him all that stuff. Please speak up, sir. Okay. So I just want to share the thank you. That's it to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Again, thank you enough. But I should say, Jazakumullah khair. By the way, saying thank you is not only is it a polite thing, but it's actually a prophetic teaching. The Prophet said, someone does you a favor, you need to thank them. Thank them enough until you think you pay them back. And if you can't pay them back, right? At least pray for them by saying Jazakumullah khair. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that. And thanks to Yasir for coming here and being so thankful. And again, thank you enough. But speaking of thanking people and being grateful about it, very nice. I told my regular crowd of this joke, but here's what's going to happen. And this happens a lot in my class, rules of engagement. I talk at the end of the class about habit changing techniques and how one could actually take charge of their. Anyways, so here's what happens with people. People get motivated all of a sudden, right? And they get energized. So they go and they show this, because of the hype, they show this immediate, sudden change. And I tell you, if that happens, those people that you're changing your behavior with, they're going to freak out. They're going to panic. They're going to have, really. So And here's a story that actually illustrates that. They said that there's this guy that attended an encouragement workshop, one of those like those workshops that you do in Waaz living, empowerment and encouragement. So he came out of the workshop very motivated. He's like, who do I have in my life that I've never, that it has been a while since I thanked and appreciated. And then he remembered his wife. Oh, I even forgot all the time today. So he was like, okay, I gotta do something really nice. So he goes, stops by a drugstore and picks up like a very fancy, expensive box of chocolate left over from Valentine's Day. And then he goes and buys he pays like $70 for a bouquet of flowers. And then he just goes, and then to make a statement, instead of using his key, he just stands by the door and rings the bell. So his wife comes, she opens the door, she sees him. She goes, I can't take it anymore. And I said, I want divorce. He's like, why, honey? And she's sobbing, she's crying. She's like, this has been a horrible day. That's it, I've had it, I want to wait out. What's wrong? What happened? And she says, well, first of all, Ashley fell down with the swing and she broke her arm, her daughter. And then the cat ripped the curtain. The TV went blank. And now at the end of the day, my husband comes home drunk. So they say that if you show this kind of sudden change, people don't expect people to really understand what happened to you. They would think that you were either diagnosed with a deadly disease, or that you were struck by lightning, something happened to your mind. So anyways, if you get motivated, do it gradually. Chef Sadullah, I had actually a question for Chef Sadullah, Chef Yasser. And there was an incident, and by the way, we share a lot of, they share a lot of wisdom with me, and I share a lot of problems with them. So, but one of those things that happen in marriage and relationships is the lack of positive nature, positive nature. Like positivity gets missed somewhere, and all of a sudden it becomes negativity. Remember what Sheikh Hassan was saying about before when people were engaged, any laughter, any sound, any voice, any movement, any gesture, it's funny, cute, and so attractive. And afterwards things change, and the same things that may have been cute before they get on your nerves afterwards. So what happens to the positive? What goes wrong? Any question?
He said it, no, I must answer it. I didn't say that. Okay. I think, when you have a relationship, it's a process. That's how this unfolds. But it's how you are able to negotiate through the traffic of that process. How do you go along with it? Sometimes people, they have this attitude, and attitude is very important. Attitude is a reflection of yourself in the mirror of life. And your attitude towards things very often reflect who you are. Very careful about this. In many instances of people, for example, I have instances of people, for example, slightly off the topic, but to give an example to explain that point. A person may be marrying a girl and make sure she's Muslim or becomes Muslim or whatever maybe. And then alhamdulillah they get married and the guy is very Islamic and goes to classes. And we meet Sheikh Yasser's class, mashallah comes to the class. Then afterwards suddenly he has a problem, you shouldn't wear hijab, you shouldn't go to the masjid, you shouldn't do this. What happens sometimes is, you don't realize that people grow, they grow with you, but they may grow at a different pace than you go. They may find things, they may not react to things the same way they reacted in the first place. Now, when they say when you play with the feet and the leg, they call it footsies, and it's cute before when you marry initially. After the honeymoon, it becomes boring, you keep the leg. The point I'm making is, it's how you are able to understand that you are evolving in that relationship. You evolve. Sometimes you make a joke, it's funny. Sometimes the wrong time is not funny. You see, it's very important to understand what frame of mind you are in, and how sometimes something which can be cute, which is done out of place, out of context, is not cute anymore. Something which can be loving in a particular context may be problematic in another context. Be very careful. If you, for example, you have a mother-in-law or father-in-law very critical about how clean the place is and if the place is dusty and so on and so forth, and you make a joke about that, and you know that the reaction, it may be a joke about yourself, but amongst other people is not. So always remember, check the reaction. What effect do you expect from the comment you make? What effect do you expect from the action you are doing? If you say, when it was always cute, in this circumstance, in this situation, would the response be what I want it to be? Always look at it. The Rasul said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, and also إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ. It's another hadith. Actions are by intentions, but also by the outcome. And that's what the Rasul said, if you do something, and you find, even if your intention is good, if you decide to do something, and you see it's flowing out to be something good, then continue doing it. You see? And if you find the way your intention was good, the way it's flowing out is not turning positive, then stop. You see? من أراد يفعل شيئا فلينظر عاقبته إن كان خيرا فامضي وإن كان شرا فانتهي. So even if your intention is good, circumstances, situation, and one part. The other part is also talking about the other part of the question about how people look at things. It's very important to realize that in any situation, there's a negative side to something, there could be a positive side to something. Humor is something where people are at the same mind, the same level of the same mood, in other words. If you go to a funeral and make a joke, it's not the right place to make a joke. So do understand that. If you go to a wedding and make a joke about your friend, that's different being at a wedding making a joke about your friend and making a joke between yourself among the friends, among guys. Oh, this guy, oh man, he's been so lazy. He used to hardly do his homework, and his room was so filthy. And I have to clean his room for him, and everybody laughs. That same joke at his wedding reception is not a joke. It's a revelation. Now, though it's true, be very careful about being truthful. Because something is true, it doesn't mean you must say it. I like Sheikh Yasir's shirt and jacket. I can say it looks nice, nothing wrong with that. I don't like his shoe. I don't have to say that. I'm truthful. No, you shouldn't. Commenting somebody for something, complimenting, doesn't imply that you must also say the negative. So that's very important to understand. So in any instance, what is the outcome? What is your objective? That's why when you open your mouth, consider four things. Is the thing true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it beneficial? Then you open your mouth. Especially in close relationships. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it beneficial? If not, don't say it.
I gotta write this down. Jeff, speaking of Yasir's shoes, this time I think they're fine. Yeah, I think I helped them to pick them up, and I think his wife approved it, so it matches this time, so it was just hypothetical. This time is.
Just very quickly, to add to what Sheikh Abdullah said, it's funny sometimes in the relationship what people look for. Because in the relationship there is also a reflection of who we really are and what kind of character do we have and do we bring into this relationship. When I counsel couples, especially with couples, so what's the problem? And they have this ability to articulate with great eloquency what is wrong with her and what is wrong with him. And then I say, you know what, let's start on a positive note here. What do you appreciate most about your wife? And that question is so problematic and it never fails. What do I appreciate about my wife? Appreciate, A-P-P-R-E, appreciate, you know what I'm saying? Like appreciate about my wife. And it takes so long for people to say anything. They literally become very speechless when you say, what do you appreciate most about your wife or about your husband? See, what we do is that we tend that when we come home, and it's for the bickering and for the arguments, but then when we are outside home, that's when I play with my friends, that's when I joke with them, that's when I have a good time. But then I come back home, and that's what's waiting for me. Naturally, where do I want to spend most of my time? I want to spend most of my time where it is more fun and there is less, don't worry about the kids people. I love kids, mashallah, barakallah. I love them to death. That's why I want to kill them. But the idea is what? The idea is that in these things, it's about what do you look for when you come in? Sometimes, does anybody have a pen? Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. And hopefully, I don't mean to exclude anybody, but if you are colorblind, please forgive me. You may not be able to participate in this exercise. Do you all see this?
Yes.
You do see it? Brothers, do you all see this? What do you see? A red dot. Most times, people spend their lives looking at the red dot. Nobody said anything about the white part, even though it is the greater part of the paper. Nobody said anything about it. But everybody is looking at the red dot. And once you keep looking into the red dot, guess what? You miss out on the rest of the paper. You become fixated on this red dot only. Sometimes we are so busy looking for what is wrong, we do not get the opportunity to spend what is going on right. And with families, we have a tendency to do so. So consumed by what's wrong with her, how bad her cooking is, or you know what, he smells so bad, but the point is we are consumed by that red dot where we fail to see any other thing, you know what, that seems to be happening in our. It's really by the end of the day, like they say, two prisoners looked out of the prison bars, one saw mud, the other saw stars. Whose fault is it? The mud was there, the stars were there, but what do you want to see? Now this is not to become simplistic about what is going on, but it has a lot to do with attitude and perception and the way we choose to see things.
Really quick, Sheikh, I need both of your comments on this question. It's a really question. Do we have anyone? Okay, well, I'm going to come back to the right, but a quick technical question. It talks about ruling on wife working. Does she have to work? Does the wife have to work?
Does the husband have to work?
I think so.
This thing will be... In Islam, there is the idea of qiwama, which will be the idea of maintenance and the idea of responsibility. That is there, and I think, I do not know from which angle the question is being asked.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a trick question.
Because we say
I left it that way. Yes.
Yeah, so they become a problem because then people bring all other aspects into it. Can you work? Can you work within a company where there's no mahram? You're working in an office environment and all that stuff. But just generally, can people work? I think, you know what? The idea is that I prefer that one parent should be looking after the kid if they can do so. I'm not too happy with the notion that, especially smaller kids, from the period of nurturing, that they should be left with someone else. And it's easier to say than to do. Those who cannot help it, they cannot help it. Because very often, it takes more than 2 jobs sometimes to make ends meet. That's one thing. So you must look at the reality. It's easy to give fatwa from offices than to look at the reality of life. So we'll be very cautious about this. We have general principles of Sharia and say, well, women shouldn't be at home, work, or man, whatever it should be. What should be and what could be, it's one thing. The ideals are one thing, and the reality must be addressed. And the idea of fitness, look at the Sharia and apply to the reality that the people face. And I think that if there's a necessity, then both should work. Sometimes it may that both work, and the most necessary, if you find that we have certain goals, we're able to make ends meet, you have kids who are going to college, or you want to save money for the college, you need to find ways of having an income. And specifically in America, you find many brothers and sisters go to university. And very often the sisters end up not working anymore. So very often those talents go to waste. And I think if it's possible that if both can contribute, it will be good. But it shouldn't be at the expense of anything more important like caring for the children. So if they need to work, there's no harm in the brother or the sister working. Both work. It's okay. Alright. Another question here.
Yeah, there's a follow-up question right at that topic, but I guess this pretty much answers this, yeah.
The question is?
Getting married at a later age matter? For example, age over 40? Age over at 40? Is that what you mean?
I think
getting married later, yes. You see, the question has to do with getting married at a late age, because somehow the example I would give is after 40.
And I don't know, Sheikh, I don't know.
I know this might be very sensitive for saying
No. I got married late myself. And the thing is that it depends what you are busy doing. It depends what you are aiming for. In my case, I was in exile. I was in my country. I couldn't be in my country. I was in exile in Egypt. So one of the excuses why I delayed, and I delayed for some years after that too, by the way. But it depends. Sometimes age can become a barrier. Age itself is not necessarily significant. Age is but a number in some ways. But it does become a problem when sometimes parents find maybe a girl wants to marry a guy who's 45 and she's 80 or something of the nature. And there's no problem religiously, there's no problem physically, perchance, but there is an issue, or the reality which we need to face. If that 45-year-old person gets married to the girl, there's a whole issue of, or vice versa for that matter, there's a whole issue of intimacy, of satisfaction, of maturity. There's also the idea that, don't forget, when he has a child, first child, going to school, he'll be at least 51, 52 years of age. She'll be 25 or 26, for example, use it as an example. One of the things that I found that I love sports, and my kids love sports, my wife loves sports. The only thing I feel I still play sports, I still do that. I think that had I married a bit earlier, now things are the way they are, but assuming I was to have married earlier and things were different, I would have grown up a bit more with my kids and I would have appreciated that fact a bit more. This is what I feel. But just age as a barrier, it shouldn't be a barrier in itself. But there are many other considerations that must come into play. We'll be very careful. I know many people, I know a recent person came to me, 21 years old, the guy 47, so what, if you want to get married? It's not only a cultural thing and so on, there are realities you have to face about maturity, about performance, about interaction, about how you see things, how you view things, and how you connect with each other. What you listen to, what you like to do. You might have to go to the mall and do some shopping. Mall? I don't go to the mall. What's a mall? Be careful. So a lot of issues that could come in with that. So age in itself is not a problem, but the age gap could be a problem.
How many people do we have here who are married? Unmarried? Yeah, people, single people. When I do my left hand, that means I'm not part of it. I'm just showing you the cost of raising it. If I raise my right hand, that means I'm part. I'm included in it. So I'm just showing you the cost of raising it. Okay. Okay. So we'll get to that. Okay. After. Yes. Go ahead.
Islamically, does your mother have priority over your wife?
Okay. This is what we call. Okay. What do we call this? Trick question? That's not trick question. What legal question is it? This is the question where
I said something earlier about compatibility time bombs, and in it I mentioned that toxic in-laws are compatibility time bombs. When people are fantasizing about the death of their in-laws, that is a problem. And we have these kind of people, they're literally fantasizing. They can almost imagine, her funeral day, and how they are really happy with they cannot show it out of respect to their husband or wife, but they're fantasizing about this. Sheikh Sa'adullah will tell you, it's not this or that. That is really not the ideal. The mother has her place, and the wife does have her place. But what bothers me nowadays is mostly about in-laws question and how much control they want to have and how much involvement they want to have in the marriage. I see this to be an unbelievably such a very, it's so problematic that it's really leaving people invaded. Literally that was the expression that was given to me. Sister came and she said, I feel invaded by my in-laws. They want to know everything that we do. They want to have a say in where we live. How many kids are we going to have? When are we going to have our kids? There was one mother, she told her son, I want her pregnant in March. She's got to be pregnant. When you have that kind of mentality, and supposedly the father or the son is torn between, this is my mother and this is my wife and whom do I...
Can I just get the joke? Okay, forgive me, I'm not trying to show over anything, but I really can't relate to this one for some reason. And I really can't relate to it. Just repeat this again. Relate to this kind of relationship. I mean, I personally think that the couples are responsible. And I think it's the obligation of the spouse to help their spouse fulfill their obligations towards their guests. If I care about my wife and her well-being, just like I care about her praying and making salat and stuff like that, she does it on her own, she doesn't have to have it. But I'm saying just like I care about it, and I would be concerned if she wouldn't, her religious obligations, I would be concerned if she is not fulfilling her religious obligations towards her parents. So, I mean, I don't know, I think it really depends on the couples.
It's very simple, very frankly. The answer is simple. The practical reality is different. First of all, I got a problem with, I know what this is a question. I got a problem with the question. Not the question, by the way, the question. Because it presupposes a tug of war. It presupposes that one at the expense of the other. There's no question. There's no question about the position of the mother. There's no question about it. Rasul was asked, and there's numerous reasons about this in different forms, who has no right to my respect, and the Rasul said, your mother, then your mother, then your mother, then your father, then everybody. That's very true. But what I have a problem with is how people take that particular statement and use it to undermine other relationship. A good mother knowing that your wife is the mother of your kids is speaking to another mother to mother, because she's also mother. She's not your mother anymore. And number one. Number two, I'm as big as I am, I'm still my mother's baby. When I go to South Africa, something like the hair is gone. I got no hair on my head. But she still treats me like a small old boy somewhat. You don't go, why are you wearing this shirt? This rust shirt, wear cream. Okay. There's no wrong, because she loves me. But it becomes a problem. Oh, your wife bought you that? My mother doesn't do that. Why don't you wear the one I bought you? I've got a problem because she's intruding now. I'm now a man. I'm not a kid anymore. I can choose what I want to wear. Neither must she impose, nor must she impose. Just because you have a status, he is your imam. He is my sheikh, by the way. Right? But if he tells me to do something which is not the right thing to do, I will not do it. Because but so if my mother needs water and my wife is giving birth, who shall I go to? You'll be crazy to go give your mother water. She mustn't give her water. She's giving birth right now. If a person outside is working, maybe even a non-Muslim, anybody is hurt outside there, and I can help them, and the adhan is going off, Allah come first. No, it's still, I can't say, well, I think you should make salah first, and if a person believes, inshallah, dua for you. No. It doesn't mean I'm putting the injured person before Allah. It's part of my human duty. As part of my being a Muslim to alleviate the suffering of another. I have got an excuse from Allah that you can make your salah but later. For example. So to ask a question, also you put that kafir guy outside there, maybe a drunkard, before Allah, the question is wrong. The question is, and not your question, I know why you asked the question, but the point is, this is the notion. There's an implication of a tug of war. Mother will always be mother, not even the father comes before the mother. But I think it's important to realize it's not tug of war. And you know who's the better of the two? The one who realizes that, I want you to care for the other one. I think sometimes it happens when people get married, they almost feel that they are being shared. You have your mother, you are your mother's son always, your daughter always. And now you're a husband, you're somebody's father. You have a relationship with your mother, which is very unique, even different from your father's. You have a relationship with your wife, which is unique, different from your mother's. You have a relationship with your kids, different from your wife. Each one deserves their rights. And none of them have the right to impinge upon the other one. The question is not the status. Mother is first. That's true. Mother is first. But how does it come into play? If it's being done with care, you do what I tell you. You get married and I tell you. Yes, we can discuss about things. I know parents in relatives of mine, when the kid is born, the mother will tell the son what the name is. All the other sisters know the name, and at the name giving, we ask the wife, and the imam gives the name, I don't know. And all the sisters know, is deliberately to show the wife, you're an outsider, you decide, it's her kid. That is nonsense. That mother-in-law is a mischief maker. She's not a good mother. But she's still mother. Be very careful. You see, one thing is to be respectful, another thing is worthy of respect. There are numerous hadith about teachers. We are teachers, alhamdulillah, you must respect your teacher. That's true. But if we lie to you and we say something wrong, you have the duty to become a student, sir. I respect you as a teacher. But you are losing that by saying something which is false. So this is very important to understand. I don't think it's tug of war. Mother has a place and it's very unique among all creation, even in relation to the father. But at the same time, don't take any relationship as a tug of war, because there will be, first my mother, then my mother and my wife, then my wife and my kids. No. That is his place. That is his place. You are one person, but you are 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. I'm his teacher, I'm his student, I'm his friend, I'm her husband, I'm his father. I'm still the same person. If you can maintain a degree of integrity in each one of those, then inshallah you are Muslim.
Just for the record, I love my mother-in-law. I gained 25 pounds because of her, so I gotta give it to my mother-in-law. Okay, Sheikh Nasser, I want your comment on this. Sheikh Nasser spoke about the part of choosing a wife you know, one of those interesting articles, just a quick one for those people, I know you don't make the majority, but you know, I read somewhere in an article written by a therapist with a PhD, actually not Muslim, Baker, something like that last name. But he was saying that that the best method to find a compatible, Sheikh has talked about compatibility, a compatible spouse is through the recommendation of your best friend's spouse. What do you think about that? I'm serious, I'm not making this up. I actually have the magazine in my office. It's just like, you know, yeah. And I'm saying, they're saying that the bar scene and all these, even churches, even churches, they're saying that doesn't work as much as the recommendation of the spouse of your best friend, who pretty much, since you're best friends and kind of know what do you think of that?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong as far as the way we are introduced to other people. One thing that is problematic in our Muslim community is the lack of opportunities for people to meet each other. Not only the lack of it, but the minute people, almost the times, it's about people coming to the masjid, but then you've got all sorts of barriers, where the sisters are kept on one side, the brothers are kept on another side, they don't get to see one another, they don't get to know who is out there. So I believe that we need to pay attention to this idea of facilitating for our brothers and sisters to meet. In other places, you may have families, your sisters, your mother, they can look for you, but that may not be available to anybody out there. It is a good idea for people who know us and know the other party to introduce us, thinking that, these two people make a good couple. But remember, our decisions should not be based on, because they recommended it, now I must be doing that. It's a good way to facilitate for us. But then, once we meet, I must understand that, do I think that this person is good for me or not? Very grateful to the spouse of my friend, but I would have to come up to that conclusion that I believe that this person is compatible.
Okay, that's the important. One has to do that part. Sometimes people come, I want to get married, and some massages, some centers might have applications and stuff like that, and you fill out the type of qualities you're looking for. And for me to recommend you or try to help you, I don't even know you, I barely know you. How can I, do that? So that's what I was trying to say, that people who know us the best might be able to help us. And people, and this really happens. A lot of married couples, there are many people. They come, Sheikh, we really want this matrimonial service in your message. This magazine has one of them, right? And you should just take some time and read that page. It has some interesting, just strange endings. I'm not even getting to that. But people say this, and then the minute they get married, right, and they find that, Mr. Right, Mrs. They forget about their friends, their cousins, what about couples? I know that, his wife might have some good friends that she can recommend to the best friend. You know what I'm trying to say? What about couples helping the single, friends? Because they know he's the best. How is a man going to set up two people? One time I had a brother come to me with a list of 200 qualities that he's looking for. How am I supposed to check for all these 200 qualities?
Easy. Ask him how many has he got of them.
But here's what happened to him. After, every year he started dropping like he takes off 10% of the qualities. Finally he ended up with one quality left. She has to be a female. Anyway, Sheikh Sadullah, inshallah we have one last interesting article that I read. They surveyed 50 couples, right? They surveyed 50 couples, and they asked them this question: who is your best friend? Right? And I actually did this experiment even in one of my classes on my students, and we separated the brothers and sisters. The majority of the women in this article, right, 50 couples, the majority of the women named a female best friend. A female best friend. Cousin, neighbor, whatever, classmate. The majority of men, over 50%, either said that they don't really have a best friend, or that their wives are their best friends.
Allahu Akbar.
But here's the catch. Most of those women did not know that their husbands considered them to be their best friends. They acted like it, but they didn't interpret it. So what do you have to say about that? Just where is the problem,
Okay, friends are relationships that you choose, by the way. And there's a lot of recommendations in the hadith in particular about your friends. And the Rasul also said, for example, be careful, who you befriend, because you become on the lifestyle of your friend, So, friendship is a relationship which you do by choice. Of all the relationships you do by choice, the most important, far-reaching, intense, intimate one is that of wife. So obviously she should be, first of all, a friend. Second part is that normally with friends, you meet them at your pleasure. We hang out together, we have lunch together, we play basketball together or something, shopping, and then you part. With your wife and your husband, you are together all the time. But some people assume friends are those whom you have at a distance. You engage them in your life when you want to, and you just engage them when you don't want to. You call them, you go with them, you don't want to go, you cut off. With a spouse, you cannot do that. And I think, in a relationship, it's important to understand, specifically in a husband and wife relationship, as I mentioned, it's a commitment, it's a solemn covenant, it's a lifelong partnership. It's also a most intimate relationship. I think when you say best friend, you must realize what are you looking for. It's someone with whom you can share your inner secrets. It's someone with whom you can share your joy. It's someone with whom you can share your tears.
But am I obligated to let the other person know, or should the other person just figure out that they're my best friend?
No, you should. No. A person who cannot tell their spouse, I love you, is a woman. If you can't tell your husband or wife, I love you, there's something seriously wrong with that. And we have a society where we don't do that. I give an example of about 3 years ago at the Jumu'ah or Eid at Eid al-Adha, and I said, people, Ibrahim alayhi salam's story was much to do with family, but how the father and the son were able to communicate. Oh my son, Allah commanded to sacrifice you, what do you say? Oh my father, do as you commanded. It's about family. About Isa and Maryam, it's about family, about mother and child. Hajira and Ismail, it's about family. And I spoke about that, and I said, please, for today, I want each and every one of you. You all come and greet me and greet Sheikh Muhammad and everybody. Push up. Go greet your wife, greet your husband, greet your kids. And a daughter came up to me and said, the first time she was here, she left. After Isha, she left. She was in the audience. For the first time I can remember, my father hugging me. First time. Now, the point I'm making is, if you can hug the Imam and the Sheikh, why? It's got to be out of respect. But I'm saying the ones you care most about. If you can't say you love the ones who mean most to you, and the one to whom those words mean most, the Shaykh says, oh, good lecture. Everybody says a good lecture. Oh, good lecture. It doesn't mean anything anymore. But when you go to someone and buy a flower or say I love you, it means so much. At the end of it, don't forget, it's those small things that we do that really counts.
Yeah.
And if your wife is not your lover, or your husband is your lover, not your friend, not your confidant, there's something wrong with your relationship.
And if the Prophet ﷺ did it, we should do it. The Prophet ﷺ in public, he was asked who's the most beloved person to you, and he had no problem declaring it in public and saying, Aisha is wife. I thought that was going to get something that's that. But I have to I have to conclude with this. Sheikh Hassan, you're my second best friend. Alright, one last question I have for the audience and for the Imam. Which way should it go? This way or this way? How many people say this way? Okay, how many people